Evolutions in treatments of spinal cord injuries. Acute spinal cord injuries result from trauma and are most prevalent in young males due to reckless tendencies. Most of the 20,800 spinal injuries in Australia are acute. Australia spends close to $3.7 billion per year on treatment. The spinal cord, no thicker than an inch, extends from the foramen magnum to the conus medullaris. Together, the brain and the spinal cord form the central nervous system. There are three major parts. The cerebrum. It controls speech, emotions, reading, thinking, and learning. The right hemisphere of the cerebrum controls the muscles on the left side of the body, and vice versa. Really, it uses information from our senses to tell us what's going on around us and how to respond. The cerebellum, which controls balance, walking, and talking, and the brainstem. This is where the information is relayed, and it also connects the brain to the spinal cord, but also it controls hunger, thirst, temperature, blood pressure, and breathing.
The primary excitatory transmitter is the glutamate, while the inhibitory transmitters are derivative Y aminobutyric acid and glycine. This information is carried through two rows of nerve roots, forming 31 pairs. Here is a cross-section of the spinal cord. The grey matter is where the processing occurs, and the white matter provides the communication. The meninges and vertebrae protect the spinal cord. Injury to the cord stops regeneration of axons, resulting in loss of function below the lesion, meaning the higher the injury, the more at stake for the individual. Quadriplegia is injury at T1 or above. Injuries at C4 or above require a ventilator. Paraplegia is injury at T1 or below. And triplegia. This is a loss of movement and feeling in one arm and both legs. This often results from a partial spinal cord injury.
Horrible histories of the evolution of spinal cord treatment, where the dark term and alignment not to be treated came into play.
In 2500 BC, Smith wrote the earliest known scientific writings on spinal cord injury, which advised immobilization, which is still used today. Then, the first medical description on chronic paraplegia, and a stretching bench to prevent and treat stiff muscles and joints. Stretching is still used, but not quite like this. A paraplegic himself built the first ever wheelchair. Horrifyingly, the backs of rabbits were struck to study the spinal cord. The bulky tank ventilator was introduced. The concept of rehabilitation. Here, the ICU ventilators were developed. Gutmann's comprehensive treatment program, increasing life expectancy and quality of life. Ideas included specialised spinal units, aftercare, and thorough documentation. The first functional recovery in animals by cooling the spinal cord tissue using hypothermia. A significant breakthrough, understanding that axons can regenerate. In rats, they transplanted part of the sciatic nerve into the spinal cord. Axons of the central nervous system grew into this graft. The first spinal cord injury recovery in rats with the antibody myelin-associated nucleate growth inhibitors, allowing axons to grow without inhibition from the injury scarring. Here, they discovered how to soften the glial scar, allowing nerves to grow out again by using this enzyme, chondroitinase ABC. Plasticity was understood, where the nerve endings can form new links and their ability to change activity by reorganizing structure, functions, or connections in the spinal cord below the lesion. Explanation of the spinal cord injury immune depression syndrome, which increases infection. The first stem cell trial, done with a dose of neuronal cells from the embryonic stems, prevented degeneration but also regained function at the injury site following treatment. Optimal cord pressure conditions were identified. Now, this probably is the biggest of them all, so well done, core team. He restored walking function in patients using epidural electrical stimulation of the lumbosacral. And lastly, 2018, Jerry Silver restored breathing and limb function in rats injecting chondroitinase ABC. This stops other nerve signals that would normally silence the spinal system, meaning humans may not need to be on ventilators for much longer.
Today, we're at the stage of curing injuries that were once considered irrecoverable or an alignment not to be treated. Over time, science is almost certain of the potential for a full recovery, as between the brain, spinal cord, and the body, scientists have established that axons can regenerate, plasticity, and that nerves can regrow and recover, creating a new connection drawing. Spinal cord treatment and research is expensive. Technologies such as modern-day wheelchairs, voice recognition, ventilators, and wearable robots have facilitated patients to return to a comfortable lifestyle, although have not treated the injury itself. Therefore, now the focus is based on achieving a neurological feedback recovery instead of the machines doing all the work for the patients, such as stem cell treatments and electrostimulation of the lumbosacral. These days, 1 year after injury, 12% of the people with a spinal cord injury are now employed, and this is expected to grow. Thank you.